Welcome to Serious About Rugby League. On the agenda today, we're going to be talking about the injuries in Super League and why so many teams have such a long injury list. Now, if we look at the Super League table at the moment, you're looking probably at a league with more teams with an injury list of over 10 players than those that haven't. We're looking at your team, Hull FC, who've had a lot of injuries, Ian. Castleford's an obvious one. They've slipped down the table because of all their key absentees. Wakefield, funnily enough, have managed to stay up there despite losing arguably their four best players. Hull KR's another one there, probably going to end up in a relegation dogfight because of the injuries they're in. So it begs the question, why are so many teams suffering so many injuries? What's the cause? Is it too many games? Is it that the pitches are not good enough? What is it?
Well, it's certainly not too many games, is it? People will say about Easter, etc. But like I was telling you not so long ago, back in the days of this man, Jack Harrison, they played 50 odd games a year, and and they just got on with it. Obviously Easter is a bit of a problem, isn't it? They're playing a few games in a few days. However, the larger squads, they're able to rotate them, like St Helens did, like Hull did to an extent, but I don't know, are they making them train on concrete or something? Are they, I would be asking questions of the conditioning staff, as good a job as they do, is there something going on that is taken away from them? I don't know. It seems to be quite a phenomenon at the moment, doesn't it?
Well, what do you think, Jason? Because we spoke before we came on. There's obviously the strength. Every team has strength and conditioning sports scientists now. Are these players almost that athletic that they're more prone to injuries? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think in the last 20 years, the type of player that a rugby player is, they've more come every position to the same type of builds, type of size, type of athlete. I think they've spent more time being conditioned in the gym. I just think it's increased the actual effect of the collisions of sport than it did in the past, which is probably why they get so many injuries now.
Would you agree with that, Ian? Because that seems the most likely answer to this question.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I know we have stuff like the new concussion protocols. It's like we've got at the moment Jamie Shaw out because of the concussion protocol. I'm at a loss to explain it.
Well, this is kind of an area us three particularly are not that aware of when you go into all the nutrition side of the sport and players' development and the bodies and how likely it is they're going to get injured. But I would hazard a guess that when a player, say 20, 30, 40 years ago, ran out on a pitch after drinking 5 pints, he would probably not be the same physical specimen, like Jason said, to what we have now. And the chances and the percentage-wise of him getting injured are probably very low. But now players are running harder, they're running faster, like you said, the collisions are bigger, so surely that's the answer. That's why there's so many injuries.
I mean, last year, Kirk Human came out of retirement for us. This year, Gareth Ellis has come out of retirement and he'll probably play for the rest of the season. So I don't know if some of it isn't because of age. Players' ages could maybe be having an effect here. It's obviously, it's like you say, they're absolute athletes and they're hitting each other 100 miles an hour, and that's all very well to say that's causing these injuries, but don't forget the blokes that they're hitting are also athletes and they should be, they should be able to withstand that sort of pressure, and for some reason they're not. I mean, we know every year Wigan keep going on about how many injuries they've got, and and it's much the same for my team Hull FC at the moment. For a couple of years, 2016, 2017, we were pretty solidly fit most of the time, and then last year, and it's for us it started last year with a horrendous injury list, and it's carrying on into this year because there's players like Josh Bowden hasn't played since last year, and Chris Green has only just come back from an injury that lasted since last year, and so I don't know. I mean, is there something wrong with the pitches that they're playing on? I mean, it's noted when I go and watch Hull FC at home, players are slipping on a regular basis on that pitch. Is it something to do with the playing surface? Is it something to do with the conditions? I don't know. It's just...
Well, Jason, as a fan of a team who've probably not had as many injuries as their rivals, is the best way to combat this to, like we've mentioned about a reserve league last week, having a reserve team, and is that another argument for having that, do you feel?
Yeah, if you've got a stronger squad or the ability to think, this player's 75% this week, we don't have to play him, I think it definitely is making a big impact on how people actually get injured. Not being forced to throw people out. But only certain clubs only one team can be sat top of the table and look at the squad and go, we could rest somebody this week. So obviously for the other teams in a bit more who need wins, it's a bit harder. But I definitely think they have to have a reserve level.
Well, I know
enough players.
Yeah, and I know Sean mentioned last week about the reserve league is useful for the rehabilitation of players coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, Hull have a reserve team, don't they? But
yeah.
they've had quite a lot of injuries. But is one of the reasons players being rushed back, perhaps, when they're not fully... Because we're seeing a lot of players having recurring injuries. We've seen a lot of players who get injured more frequently than others. Are players getting rushed back? Is that...
I think in some cases, yes, most definitely. I mean, on Friday night against Catalan, we were down officially to our last fist's 18 players in our squad, and the highest squad number we've had on the pitch this season is number 38, and it's Kieran Buchanan who played on Friday night. And we were down to our last 18 fit players, and frankly, at least two of them, as I say, should not have been playing. They were clearly injured, and they were put out there just because we had nobody else to put out there. I think if you get the reserve league up and running and it's sustainable and it's happening every week, then you have that ability. I know Josh Bowden is likely to play for our reserves in the not too distant future, but that's one game, in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. If you get that reserve league running week in, week out, if it's there every week, then yes, you have got a platform there to bring players back through that, playing against other Super League players who are coming back from injury or who are on the fringe, of the first team, and who then, and it'll increase fitness levels. And it will naturally increase their fitness levels, and it'll get them used to that collision and all the rest of it, and get them used to Super League conditions, playing against other Super League players before you put them back in the first team in a competitive match in the first team. So yeah, I think the reserves is really the key to getting to sorting this out, because I mean, I was looking on Facebook the other day and somebody said that they'd refitted out the Castleford changing room and there's a picture of a hospital ward. And I thought, do you know what? You're not far off there.
I think if we go back to the original point there about reserves, I remember probably about a decade ago, when every team had a reserve team almost, you would go to a Super League game, and you'd go into the stadium or you'd go down a bit earlier to watch the reserves play.
Yeah.
And then you'd turn up and you'd see, I can remember a time when Ali Lawati was one of Leeds' key players, and he turned out for the reserves, and everyone's like, he's getting his match fitness back, he's getting up to speed, and it just seemed that was the normal thing. But now there's not an option to do that. it's surely playing a part in so many players picking up injuries. Do you not feel?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I think we ran one up until right near the end. I think this year would be the first time that our reserve side won't really have played any games, maybe a few friendlies. And it just tailed off with everybody. It was strange the fact that a lot of Super League clubs didn't field one, and then Halifax managed to.
Yeah.
As a part-time club in the second division, we've managed to have a team that are turning up and playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy that after the licensing system, that all these teams were allowed to just let a reserve team disappear, pretty much.
Yeah, so without getting, might have been a bit of a repeat debate from last week, but it seems that reserves is probably the answer to this.
It definitely is. It is the way forward if you're getting these blokes and you're giving them game time, and it will help with the conditioning. It'll help them get used to it again before you chuck them back into it. I mean, 2017 we played Gareth Ellis in a reserve game because 2 weeks later we were looking forward to a Challenge Cup semi-final against Leeds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'd been out for a few weeks and he was able to get back into the reserve team and get used to it, and he played a Super League game the following week and then played a Challenge Cup semi-final. And so there's the benefit. You can put these guys in there and it gives them a really good meaningful run out, and it's better than just training, opposed training sessions or whatever. It is game conditions, and it will help get injured players back on their feet, and you will know exactly where they're at.
Well, it seems reserves is the answer, guys. I'm going to throw something out a little bit different. I want to know which team has got the biggest injury list. So whoever you support, list your injured players in the comments, and let's see who can top the injury list table. Don't forget to like and subscribe.